in Philippians 4:1. It's 4:1. Therefore, my brethren, dearly beloved and long for my joy and that's not what I
No,
wanted.
you wanted Philippians 4:1, right?
That is Philippians 4.
Being content is what.
Oh, you wanted one that says about being content? That's a little further down.
11.
11, yeah.
Not that I speak in respect of one, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therefore, to be content. We have to be content with what we have. Like she says, I've lived a good long life. I was saved at a revival meeting. We lived at the end of Cedar Drive, and I was 16. And the folks that lived across the creek from us had a revival meeting, and that's where I was saved. We'd go across the creek to these revival meetings. And I don't remember exactly the day.
Well, that was a long time ago, wasn't
Yeah,
it? Like
yeah.
80-something years ago?
Yes. And, but I don't doubt that I am God's child,
Amen.
as we all should be. And the first I remember teaching Sunday school, I was in the 7th or 8th grade.
Oh,
I
wow.
taught Sunday school.
Oh, wow.
And there were 5 of us, 5 siblings, and we were always involved in something at church. And today's children don't get the chance to get involved like we were
Right.
when we were children. It was mainly children. It was not grown-ups putting on the programs. It was children.
Really?
And we were always involved in that. And very little kept us from going to Sunday school. We enjoyed it. And I was born in the little town of Virgil, Kansas, which is in the southeast corner of Kansas. And I had a twin sister, a younger sister, and 3 brothers.
I didn't know you had a twin.
And I'm the only one left in the family. And we lived on a large farm, and my dad worked for a bigger farm. And we were paid, he was paid $40 a month. Can you imagine it? $40 a month with
No,
6 kids.
Probably was a lot back then. I mean, it was a decent wage back then.
And we always had plenty because the Lord provided. We always had a large garden and fruit trees and berries and nuts. We lived close to a river, and there was walnut trees and pecan trees and pomegranate trees and persimmon trees. Not pomegranate, but persimmons. And we also ate a lot of wild weeds, you would call them. I wouldn't dare pick them out now, but there was different weeds that you could
Sort of like
eat.
dandelion greens.
Yeah,
You can eat
yeah.
Right, you can
dandelion
eat, right,
greens.
make salads out of a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and we picked a lot of those and had them like spinach or
Right.
You know, like post
Right.
salad. Yeah.
Right,
You used
right.
to
saute them.
Yeah.
Heard of miners do.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of those. And the first house that we lived in, I was in the 1st grade, and it burned to the ground. My dad was building a fire, and he used a can of, it was a 5-gallon can of kerosene, and he poured it in on the wood, supposedly, but there were some coals in there. And it just kind of come up. So, but we all got out with no
Wow.
burns, but no house. And then the man that owned the property, they mounted the dirt up, and there was an empty house down the street from us. So they put that house, they mounted the dirt up, put it on rollers on big logs, and the horses pulled the logs and rolled it down the road.
Oh, wow.
And
That would have been something to
man,
see.
I know,
It
right?
was, and we watched it being done. That, and then we had a house again. But, when we, let's see, when we graduated from the 8th grade, my sis and I, we graduated one day, we left the next day and came to California.
Wow.
And other relatives had already come. So we left there the 31st of May in 1936. And Dad had built a trailer, and he put the household stuff, what they wanted to bring, in the bottom. And then he put, I don't know, 3 or 4 mattresses on top. And he put bows over the top and covered that. And 3 of us got to ride on the trailer, and the other 3 in the car, coming across from Kansas till we got to the summit.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It's kind of like a modernized wagon for a
Yeah,
wagon train,
yeah.
right?
Right.
But when we got to Reno and had to go over the mountain, he wouldn't let us ride the trailer anymore. And he put some more chains between the trailer and the car to get over the mountain. Because it's 7,135 feet.
Right.
And so we got over the mountain and into Roseville and found our relatives. And pitched a tent, slept in a tent, ate some outdoors and some in with them. And, did our laundry in a big kettle out, built a fire out in the yard and had a big kettle of water and did our laundry out there on the washboard. Anyway, and then Dad bought property close by. The property belonged to the same person that my relatives had bought from. And that was at the end of Cedar Drive. And he got a job at the PFE, which is Pacific Fruit Express out of Roseville, they built box cars for ice box cars.
So
And
they could carry the fruit and
Mhm.
stuff. Yeah.
And the old material, the lumber, they would toss out to the side of a fence, and then you could go out there and buy it by the trailer load for 50 cents a trailer load. So that's where our house came from this. Dad would bring home wood
Wow. Little by
and
little.
build our house. And he was very inventive. He built a saw to saw the lumber. He built a cement mixer, and he built a buzzsaw for our wood.
It's crazy.
And of course, we pounded nails out of the wood that they took out of the box cars, and we used those nails, straightened them out, used them. So you had to do with what you had.
That's right.
But God provided.
Yes, he did. And we were so grateful. And there's many homes in Citrus Heights built the same way. Just gotta know where they're at.
I guess.
And they're solid. They're solid, and it was good lumber.
Do you still live in that house now?
No, but it's still there on Cedar Drive. The Friends Church, which is this building at that time, was the only church in the area.
There weren't any other denominations
No.
in here? This was the only one?
This church, this building?
This building.
Wow.
So we came here,
Oh my gosh. As long as you've been here. Wow.
and
So you're one of the first ever members.
not really. It had been going on because it was built in 1920.
But I mean here, like as far as like
1921.
So the church was here before she ever came,
Yeah, I was born in
because she didn't come until
2022.
36.
Right.
Okay.
So,
But out of the congregation now, you're one of, you've been
Yes.
coming here probably the longest.
right.
Wow.
They're going to celebrate their 100th year pretty soon, and I've been invited to write something out for that.
Wow.
For Friends Church?
Uh-huh.
So the Friends Church still exists, it just didn't turn into
Yes,
Pioneer.
It went until 1974, I think it was.
It's up in the Citrus Heights.
It's
City
in
Hall.
Woodmore
You
Oaks.
see it.
It's at Woodmore Oaks.
Yeah.
Friends Church.
Charles Boulevard.
Wow.
And
I was like, hey, that's our church. I think we're starting to get, people are starting to get to know our church because when they hear I'm from there, they're like, oh, those are really nice people. Why do we like them? I'm like, great.
That's good.
and I went there for, I'd say 60 years. And the pastor was supposed to be someone that builds churches. And he got to sing in these little, I call them 7-Eleven songs.
Yes.
7-Eleven.
7 words, 11 times.
Oh, yes, I've heard of that, yeah.
And all the old hymns tell the story. All of them.
Mhm.
They were written that way.
Like
They were a
Fantastic.
story.
Yeah.
And the music was loud. We got a band.
What?
And it was loud, and I couldn't follow the music. I couldn't follow his teaching. So I decided to. There was 5 of us left that church at the same time, and we started looking for a different church, and we came here. And this is home. It was home to start with. It's home now.
Mm.
So I'm glad I'm here.
Was it strange starting here with that church, leaving to a new building and then coming back to the old building where you?
I wouldn't say so, because it was just a matter of changing of pastors and
So what year was it when you came here?
2005.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad I'm here too. Like I say, it's home. My mother and dad used to sit on toward the back pew where Billy and
Will?
no, Conley's.
Oh, Lydia.
Libby and
Jerry said.
And Jerry said, my mother and dad used to sit there. And my sister was married in the church. My cousin was married here. Several other family members. So, like I say, it's home.
Probably feels much like home.
Yes. And I married right out of high school. So, and we had 3 children. And I used to teach the 5th grade girls. I had them over in the corner. Of course, part has been built on since then.
Mm-hmm.
But I taught the 5th grade girls. I love that. And I taught teenagers. I taught adults. And also, I've had home studies, Bible studies that I've taught. So, and my husband was in the Navy and in the 40s, and he worked on the railroad before that, so I was by myself a lot
Mm-hmm.
in raising the children. But God helped me make a lot of decisions about everything, really.
Mm.
And if it wasn't for the Lord, I would not have made it through. And in 1990, I had a real test of faith. In January, my husband's brother passed away. And then in February, a granddaughter and 2 babies perished in a trailer fire in Vallejo. And in March, I fell and broke my right foot, or right ankle in 4 places. So I've got a plate down my ankle and screws and pins in the foot. And then that was in March. And the same month, my husband passed away. Then I was in a wheelchair at the time. And then a cousin died also in March. Then in July, another cousin passed. And then by November, one of my aunts passed, so I had a bunch in 1 year.
Wow, that's
That's
a
a lot.
lot.
God took me through, and I praise Him for it. And I managed to. My granddaughter took me to the insurance company after my husband passed away, and it was on Watt Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And we went over there, and here's, I don't know, there must have been 13 steps up the front of this building. And
And that was before Disabilities Act was
Yeah.
in place, right?
so we drove around the building, and in the back there was maybe 3-4 steps, but they were wider steps where you would get the wheelchair up on and then up on.
Mm.
So we managed to get in there, and I went in there and I said, "Tell me something. How does someone in a wheelchair get in this building?" And the lady looked at me and she says, "I don't know." And I thought, what a thing to say to somebody in an insurance
Right.
building. They're supposed to be taking care of you. But we made it. And then I broke a bone in the left ankle. So, but that didn't bother me too much. And I had a cast on my leg, which was very uncomfortable. But I had a chance to go to Holy Land, and I had paid my money already before this break came. And we paid it to a pastor in Texas, and he got our tickets and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And there were 14 of us, and no way could I get my money back.
Mm.
So I went with the cast on my leg, which was very uncomfortable in the plane. Try to get your.
bad.
And it's a lot of walking on that trip too, I think.
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
But he had me hang on to his belt when we were walking through the streets of Jerusalem. He said, "Just take hold of my belt." So that's what I did.
Used to do that to
Wow.
my husband.
But I was so glad I went, because it makes the Bible come so much clearer, and you can read, I've been there. I did this, or I did that, and we had a wonderful time. And we had Bible studies along the way. And anyway, if you ever get a chance to go, go, and you won't be disappointed. And there's been many, many other things that's tried my faith, but God's always there with me. And in Philippians 4:6 it says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God." And He hears us, and maybe He don't answer the way we want Him to, but He will answer.
Praise
One way or
God
the
for
other.
that.
And thank you for letting me.
Well, we have enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's nice to take a walk in the past.
Yes.
Can I have a copy of that?
Huh?
Can I have a copy of that?
Sure. I'll copy it for you.
Yeah, it's real interesting. Because I think about my grandparents who are older than Miss Arlene, would have been older than Miss Arlene, and I remember the things they used to tell us. In 1936, that was part of the Depression as well,
Right.
and it was hard times,
Mm-hmm.
and it was people really relied on God back then, and we don't do that so much today.
Because we have plenty of
Because
everything.
we have everything.
We have everything.
But, I love the part about scavenging for the things to build your home.
That's right.
And that, because I can remember even as a young girl that we used to go and glean the fields. They don't let you glean the fields anymore, but we
What
used
is
to go
that?
glean the fields.
Yeah.
And that would be our food for the next year.
What is
you know?
glean?
That means
Pick up whatever-
after they've harvested, you can go and pick whatever's left.
The Bible.
Talked about that.
Bible,
Ruth.
especially in Ruth. And I think we're going to do a book called My Redeemer, which we're going to talk about.
Wasn't that a law that was put in place given to the Israelites
Yes.
because they were to
Yes.
help take care of those that didn't have the
Right.
people that weren't the Israelites that
That's right.
were
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And so I remember those. I remember even as a small child having to go out and help pick beans and pick, you know, tomatoes and pick all that stuff.
I
And
remember picking kiwis and stuff at you know. helping.
yeah, I mean, we do it. Most people do it for fun now because it's, you know, it's fresh and it's good. But we did it to survive.
That's
But
right.
And
when we left, you know, it's like coming to the land of milk and honey.
right, it was like
Say,
stepping into the promised land because California had everything.
you get here and we picked up prunes, we picked olives, we picked peaches, we knocked almonds.
Yeah, you have
And
there's
it took
everything
the whole
here.
family to,
Yeah, because your growing season is all year.
Oh yeah.
In Kansas, the growing season is from probably April to October, and that's it. After that, it's very hard winter, because I lived in Kansas for a while. I did know that. It's very hard winter after that, so there's no gathering of anything. If you didn't gather enough in those summer months, you didn't make it through the winter. So it's here, you know, even if you don't get enough of the summer vegetables, there's always the winter vegetables here that you can.
She forgot how to praise God and lay
Yeah.
on Him.
boss that my dad had, he would give Mom the little runt pig of the litter, whether it's the tiniest or sickliest looking,
Right.
and she would raise them. And then when they butchered the pigs for the farm, they would go ahead and butcher ours as well. And that was our meat for the winter.
My grandfather used to raise pigs, and you're right. They don't the runt. They kind of ignore the mama will ignore the runt. So if you don't do something separate with that runt, it will die.
Mm.
So it was a blessing that there's a gleaning as well, because the Lord provided that. He provided that principle of gleaning for His people.
Right.
But we have gotten so far away from God that now they don't even let you glean the fields anymore. They don't let you go to the processing houses and pick up the culled potatoes and stuff like that. You can't do that anymore.
All that stuff's just thrown away.
It's just
Right, they'd
thrown
rather throw it
away.
away than-
They'd rather throw it away than let you have it for free.
We also didn't have the luxury of the bathroom
Right? You had an outhouse.
or the bathtub.
No, I remember we used to, my grandparents had no indoor plumbing. We would have to, we'd have to bathe in the horse trough. That was where we took our bath, you know, and the bathroom was either a chamber pot or the outhouse.
Summertime, it was.
For Mom
it was
growing
the
up, it
river.
was a hole in the ground.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had this friend named Fred, and he was a very ingenious kind of guy. He had his own business, and he had polio, and he was paralyzed on one side, and he came from Germany. Anyway, he told me, he says, and he was talking to me about his business, and he used to build kilns, and he says, he says, you have to think, Deb, he was always trying to teach me things. He says, you have to really think. He goes, do you want to be a country girl or do you want to be a city girl? Well, I've always been a city girl, so I don't know. And he goes, well, let me tell you the difference. A country girl, if she's out there stuck with her tractor and it breaks down, she has absolutely no one to help her fix that. She has to figure it out. She's got to figure it out. She's got to work with what she has. And a city girl will sit there all day and wait for somebody to rescue her.
I have a niece in Idaho that's that way. She has a tractor.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
works.
And I thought that was it was a good lesson for me to remember that you have to be resourceful, because if you're not,
Well, and
you could be
especially-
stuck forever.
Especially all of us.
If you're
We're except for Brianna, we're single women.
Yeah.
We have to rely on our own
Yeah.
ingenuity.
Yeah.
Except for her too.
Well, it used to be more. Okay.
But we used to, most of this class
Right,
was
you
all
say
single
single, right,
women,
right.
right? So when you're single, but not only when you're single, I know I always felt like I could do a lot more at home for my husband. Like I raise the garden and I can the vegetables.
Right,
I
right.
put all that stuff away. Used to go hunting and fishing with him, make sure we had food, right? Because when you're in the military, you don't make much money, right?
Right.
You don't make much money. And versus having to go to work and not be with my children, that was
Right,
the trade-off, right? And I didn't depend on anybody else to help us. It was us and the Lord's leading us to places and providing
We didn't have
money or
no-
providing food. And like I had people would give me stuff, I have all this extra out of my garden. Just give it to me. I'll take care of it. I'm sure I can. And it was always welcomed and ate somehow, right?
You know, sometimes we feel like that we're like reaching out for God. God save me when we're like in a tribulation or when we're going through something. We want Him to save us from that. And I wasn't gonna share this. I shared it with my husband this morning, but it was kind of it's gonna be something that I'm gonna ponder in my heart for a while. But last night I had a dream that really, I was just like, whoa. Basically, I was stuck out in the ocean by myself, no boat to be seen in the middle of the ocean. I'm trying to swim, and finally I scream out for God. I'm like, God, save me. What am I doing in the middle of the ocean by myself? And so I see this hand, this huge hand coming out from heaven and reaching for me. And I've never had this kind of dream before, okay? So he's reaching out, so I grab his hand. He brings me up into the clouds, and there's like a lightning storm going on, thunder and everything, and we're walking on the clouds together. Just walking. We're not talking or anything like that. We're just walking. And the second round, I was stuck in the ocean again, except Nacho was with me. And this black guy, I had no idea who he was. And I'm like, and then I scream for God's help again, and a broken boat shows up, and it's sinking. I'm like, okay, we'll work with that. And so I try to go climb on this boat, and I'm like, Lord, this boat's not working. It's sinking. We need your help. Please, God, help us. And no joke, like somehow a pavement just formed, and he walks out of a door and comes and saves us. And then he pulls up his britches. He's wearing a robe of some kind, and he says, well, Alicia, I gotta go. And I'm like, wait, the Bible says He promises He'll never leave us. That was the ending that was weird. I was just like,
But He was there to help you.
But what is the lesson out of that?
That's
Think about what the
yeah.
lesson is.
that was a crazy dream. I was like, I shouldn't share this. This is kind of personal. Just
No, but
No.
That,
That's a
but
good
let's think
dream.
about what the lesson might be. What might God have been trying to show you is that you can count on Him.
That's right. Twice.
Especially
In
that
the same-
broken boat that
in
we
the same-
thought was
and-
you thought was not good enough. Well,
He still was there.
He was still there, even though it wasn't good enough. And I think that sometimes that's what happens to us,
Right.
is we forget that the first thing we should do is cry out to God. Not the last thing that we should do. It's the very first.
And it's like Miss Arlene talking about all that tragedy, that real dark period in your life, and that one death after another, and one tragedy after another, and then you being ill. I mean, all through that, God had to help you because you were just devastated, I'm sure. I mean, and if you don't have God to pick you up and hold you together, you don't have anything.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
And
that was an awesome dream. Thanks for sharing.
thanks for sharing
That was
it.
awesome.
It was awesome.
I
Thanks for
couldn't
sharing.
imagine where I would be. I don't think I would even be alive if I didn't lean on God and have some kind of hope of someone like there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
No.
I would have given up a long time.
Oh, of course.
Well,
yeah.
and a lot of people do because they
There's
don't
no
have
hope
the
without
Lord.
Him. There is
There is absolutely
there is
no
none.
hope without the Lord.
None.
But we have to remember to thank Him. Thank
That's
you,
right.
Thank you.
And-
Thank you.
That's right.
We have to make good responses, and we have to remind ourselves that we have to be thankful. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
I always say, people say, well, all we can do is pray, but that's the best
it's the
thing we can
best
do is
thing.
pray, right?
It's the best.
All right. Are there any prayer requests? I know we need to pray for Marilyn's Uncle Gus. Is there anything else?
Charity's sick today.